Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Way-Tec Red Hare 5-inch brushless bind and fly racer. At the making of this video it costs £180 without a receiver, and then there are two receiver options. This is the FreeSky XM Plus that has come flashed with the international version of the firmware. It does not have any RSSI on the aux channels. And then you can get the FlySky 2A protocol receiver, and the model costs around about £189 with the receiver options, which puts it a very similar price to the Emax Hawk 5, which is my current favourite 5-inch bind and fly model. So this one has got some tough competition. Now, I received this with the receiver antenna just sticking out of one of these holes here, so I have had to fit my own cable ties and heat shrink there. So let's take a look at the specifications, starting off with the motors. These are the budget DYS Sam Gook series 2306 2500 kV brushless motor, and despite it being a budget motor, it seems really nice quality. So we have got a naked bottom and also a hollow shaft. There is a C-clip underneath, so there's no hex screw, so it will make it difficult if you get mud stuck in there. But yeah, the quality of the motor seems pretty nice. And then the propellers are the Gemfan 5152, and they are a really high-pitched propeller. They're in Ferrari red, and you get given a spare set of those. So yeah, they are the Flash series. So with this 2306 stator motor, so wider stator motor and sort of a average kV, then this should be perfect for a racer where you are hovering around middle throttle quite a lot, and these high-pitched props are probably going to be heavy on amps, but it should be a fairly fast model. Now, the frame is really interesting. We've got these really skinny arms here, but the carbon is really good quality and it's thick and there's no movement there whatsoever. And it's a fairly lightweight model as well. It comes in at 307 grams. It's quite difficult to get the weight down on a model when you are using a bigger stator motor. So I would say that was fairly lightweight. And yeah, we've got this braiding here on the motor wires, and it's almost as thick as the arms. The arm shape reminds me of the Holy Bro coppice, but the arms are even thinner than that, and we have got a fairly thick bottom plate here sandwiching these arms in, and it seems a really nice quality. So if we just look underneath here, they give you a silicon battery mat, but you have to stick it on. They do give you a really poor quality battery strap, so this is really the kind of strap that you would use for a micro, so I've had to switch that out, otherwise I wouldn't feel safe with my battery. But yeah, I like the frame, and we have got these metal parts on the side as well. So the stack is actually the Aurora RC OMVT, so it's a complete stack that you can buy, and the ESCs are a 4-in-1. They are 32-bit and they are set up for D-Shot 1200. So if you're thinking why would anyone go for this over the Emax Hawk 5, we have got 32-bit 35 amp ESCs, and there is a current meter in there as well, so that is hooked up. There's no ESC telemetry though. So above that we've got the Aurora RC F4 flight controller with Betaflight on-screen display, and it's come flash with Betaflight version 3.20. It has a built-in VTX, which is using a MMCX connector, and if you are looking for other reasons to go for this over the Emax Hawk 5, then this one does switch from 25 milliwatt, but it goes all the way up to 600 milliwatt, so it's a more powerful VTX, and I tend to find that when the VTX is built into the flight controller, that is pretty good when it comes to noise. And this entire system, they are saying, will take a 4 to 5S battery. Now I'm going to be flying on a 4S battery, so Tattoo 1300 milliamp. I do think that 5S would be a little bit too much for a 2500 kV motor, but they are saying that you can run 5S with it, so yeah, that's interesting. In fact, this stack I think will take up to a 6S, but perhaps it's the motors that are limited to 5S. So there's no smart audio on the VTX, and this is something that I think that they should do really with these built-in VTXs. And there is a button, there's actually two buttons, so one to change the power output and then another to change the channel and bands, and you're not given any instructions with this whatsoever. So I just went on the website for this stack and checked out the channel chart, and it does match up, but yeah, quite tricky to get to the buttons there. I had to use sort of like a screwdriver to get to it, but you know, it's just how they have built it. We've got an LED board on the back but no buzzer. There is a solder pad for a buzzer, but I think what people are doing now, and companies as well, is just using D-shot commands. So that's what I've done. I've set up the beacon on there, and so when I set it up to an aux channel, then you know, it's pretty loud through these motors. So I'm not going to be adding a buzzer, and you're not given one in the package, but there is the option to add one. One thing I do like about this flight controller VTX combo is that it's using an MMCX connector. So I like that, and you also have the option for a SD card for black box. They've also soft mounted the flight controller as well on these rings here. The only thing that I'm concerned about really is this stack comes with a capacitor, and it seems like they haven't fitted that. So it is using the MPU 6000 gyro, so it supports up to 8K, 8K. But yeah, I'm not too sure. We'll have to see what it's like in terms of noise rejection on the flight control and also the video, because they have not fitted that capacitor, and we do have some liquid electrical tape over there as well, so it might be quite difficult to actually install a capacitor if I have any issues. It looks like the receiver just plugs straight in there, and also the camera, it's just plugged in there too. It needed a full setup in Betaflight. The only thing that was really set up was D-Shot 1200, so this is not for you if you are not familiar with Betaflight, and then I would definitely go with the Emax Hawk 5 then, because that one is set up really nicely out of the box. The biggest downside to this package is the camera. Once again, it's listed as a CCD camera, and it's not. It's a 16:9 poor quality CMOS camera, and also a downside is that it is protruding a lot out of the front there, so no camera protection at all. The first thing I'm going to be doing after this review is switching the camera out. Another interesting thing is the antenna. It's actually a RP-SMA TBS Triumph, so the smaller version, and I think it's a genuine version. You know, these companies are known for, you know, having copies, but I do believe the RP-SMA version of the Triumph has a silver connector. It's also got TBS inscribed on it, and we also have the logo, and it seems a good quality. So even though Banggood does not sell TBS stuff, seems like they have gotten hold of this antenna, and it's not a cheap antenna either if you take a look, so maybe that's where some of the money has gone. So you're not given much else in the package. We have got a spanner there. It looks like we've got a spare 1mm pitch 4-pin JST connector, and I've got just a little bit of that 3M tape left there. So I'm going to do a full setup with this one, and then I'll take it for a fly and see how it performs. Okay, let's maiden this guy. Just in angle mode to start off with, just to make sure everything's okay, and it seems to be. So let's try a punch. Yeah, not bad. I'll go for another one. Yeah, punch is just okay, really. Nothing spectacular. It's not a noisy model. I'm not hearing oscillations. But yeah, I expected perhaps a little bit more oomph, especially with these props on there, and with it not being noisy, perhaps it's struggling to turn the motors a little bit, maybe. But I'm not hearing any oscillations, so that's good news. But yeah, not too impressed with the punch of this guy, but just the stock tune without a GoPro seems to be fine. So just gonna bring it back into angle mode, see if we have any drift or anything like that. I think there is a little bit of drift, you know. I think I'm hearing some slight hesitation on the motors. Maybe we've got some noise issues there. Have to see how that manifests itself in the FPV flight. So let's take a look at some DVR footage, and as you can see, the camera is a 16:9 CMOS camera. I have seen worse cameras than this, but you know, it's not advertised as it should be. I was really surprised at the top speed though, at 98 mph. It didn't feel like it had an incredible amount of punch on the line of sight, but you know, clearly this one is a top performer. And I think that is down to the motors and also the prop combination. Now, it was fairly heavy on amps, not as heavy as other models that I've seen. So if we look at the voltage sag, it is sagging below 14 volts on a full punch out. But, you know, some of these faster models, they can go below 13 volts, you know. So I actually think maybe that it is the motors that cannot produce any more thrust than this with this heavy prop combo on there, which is absolutely fine. And I think I would probably recommend for normal use maybe something like a 5046. You know, it'll be kind of on your battery and you'll get a little better flight time, because I think it was under 4-minute flight time with this one. So with this being a CMOS camera, it's getting a little bit of jello on there, but the video feed was really clean. And actually the motor hesitation that I was hearing on the line of sight flight, it didn't manifest itself at all when flying FPV. I do think it could do with a capacitor on there just to clean it up a little bit. Now, one thing that I did experience, and you saw it a little bit in that speed run there, is I was getting some Term Oscillation at the top of the throttle. So yeah, I'm sure this tune, which is just stock Betaflight PIDs, would be fine with a GoPro on the top. But you know, as this is a lighter model, you need to give it a different PID tune when you don't run a GoPro on the top. And yeah, I was getting oscillations at the top of the throttle, and you know, I wasn't really hearing that on the line of sight flight because I wasn't giving it enough throttle, and it did manifest itself in the FPV flight. So yeah, for me, it needs better setup really for the price. It needs a better camera, but actually in terms of performance, it performed pretty well. It just needs a decent tune on there. And you know, if you are looking at reasons to get this over the Emax Hawk, then you've got the 32-bit ESCs, you've got the more powerful VTX, but the Emax Hawk is set up better out of the box. And you know, it's at a similar price point, it's faster, and it has a better camera than this one. So, you know, I think people are going to choose the Emax Hawk 5 over this one, but, you know, you do have this option. You know, it's not a dreadful package, I don't think, but yeah, for me the camera needs switching out, you know. But if you are a 16:9 goggle user, then maybe this will suit you, I don't know. But I'm a 4:3 goggle user, and you know, there are better quality cameras out there in terms of CCD cameras, which is, you know, it's what this was listed as, but there's better quality CMOS cameras out there. But anyways, I'll link it below if you want to check one out. So as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.